Good morning, everyone. We welcome you this morning. This is the last full committee meeting of our Transportation Committee in the House before our bills transfer over to the Senate and the Senate bills come over to us. So we're going to conclude our business today on the House side and take a little rest and prepare to gear up to hear the Senate bills when they come over. So we don't have many bills on the docket this morning, but the bills we have are important. Before we begin, I would ask the clerk, can we take roll, please? Delegate Taylor, are you present? Yes, sir. Delegate Murphy, are you here with us? Delegate Murphy doesn't appear to be with us. Okay, so we have 21 people in attendance, so we have a quorum, so we can conduct our business. Thank you. We're going to move straight to our Subcommittee 2 report. We have some other bills. I'll just carry those to the end. I don't see the patron here with us right now. But Delegate Chairman Wiley, Wyatt, you chair that committee. I'm sorry, Wiley's got a bill up. Wyatt, you chair. Can you give us a report on your subcommittee, please?
We'll move right into Subcommittee 2. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Subcommittee 2 met this past Tuesday afternoon and passed a few bills out. The first one I'll refer you to is HB 1437, patroned by Delegate Wiley. This bill does have a substitute.
Okay, substitute. Have a motion for substitute. Second. All right. Everybody in favor of substitute, vote signify by saying aye. Aye. Substitute's properly before us. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. This allows for the installation and maintenance of operation devices within the right-of-way of state highways for law enforcement in the use of only to acquire data and the use of only used for active law enforcement investigations. The bill reported out subcommittee 7-0 vote, and I so move.
Mr. Chairman, before we move, I think there may be some comment. Let me ask if this committee has any questions or comment pertaining to the proposed legislation.
Mr. Chair.
Yes. And I think I have Delegate Herring. Would you like to speak, please?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sorry.
Please don't.
Mr. Chair, the substitute's not online, and I didn't know if there was a copy to distribute.
It is online.
Pardon?
I was able to pull it up, so
Delegate LaRock says he has it up, Delegate Herring. If you
am on iHUD. Are you on iHUD or LIS?
LIS.
try refreshing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you,
LIS.
Mr. Chair. I'll just go to LIS. Thank you.
Okay. Delegate LaRock, I think you asked to
I did, Mr. Speaker. I would just, or Mr. Chairman.
Please, y'all, please.
Getting ahead of myself just a little maybe there. So I'm going to speak to the bill, if I may.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The intentions of this, I agree with 100%. Facilitating the use of modern technology to advance law enforcement, solving crimes. I've heard that the technology similar to this is what helped find the person who I think was eventually convicted of a shooting that we all have heard about. But the other side of this that is maybe less represented are the concerns that relate to the data. And without elaborating, I think these discussions have been batted back and forth at length. But my concern is that when there is data collected, that perhaps that data is not dealt with in a way that is described in this bill. So I think this limits it to, I haven't really looked through the substitute, but there are limits, I think in this case 30 days that the maximum can be kept and who can use it. But in a day and age when we're one hack away from data going in the wrong direction, I have reservations about moving in the direction of more data collection that involves people who haven't committed crimes, and that could be anybody and everybody that drives past the stationary data collection device or whatever they're called. And so for that reason, I just wanted to voice that concern, consideration, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to the patron.
Thank you, Delegate LaRock. Anyone else like to speak to the matter on the committee? Anyone in the audience to speak either in favor or against? If you're in favor, please come forward. Mr. Skiles.
Chairman, members of the committee, David Skiles, Vector Corporation, representing Flock Safety, which is a private company that works with law enforcement agencies throughout the United States and here in the Commonwealth to deploy these devices. We obviously appreciate Delegate Wiley bringing this bill forward. This has been a very collaborative process with a lot of agencies, and we think we've put this bill in a good posture. And so I want to thank Chairman Austin, Delegate Wiley, VDOT, OAG, and State Police for working together to get this bill where it is today. I'm happy to answer any questions, but...
Are there any questions? Thank you, sir, for your testimony.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
So, is this a complement to the facial recognition bill that came through last year?
Mr. Chairman and Delegate Anderson, I wouldn't be anywhere near the facial recognition bill that came through last year. The answer is no. If you look at this substitute, it is very specific. In fact, we put language in there to make clear that this can do no sort of identification other than a motor vehicle. So types of technology that might be used for, let's say, iris detection would not be allowed under the provisions of this bill.
All right, one more question, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
So, if there were an Amber Alert and there was a specific model and tag number that was sent out on an Amber Alert, this would allow other agencies that may have data, cameras, to share that information with the jurisdiction issuing the Amber Alert. That's what this would be specific. That would be an example of what this would be used for.
Mr. Chairman and Delegate Anderson, I think in the simplest definition, yes. The way that these systems typically work, you have the FBI NCIC data that is updated every 24 hours that identifies things like Amber Alerts, Silver Alerts, and those types of things. When a vehicle passes through and that license plate number is registered, law enforcement is notified, and that's how the vehicle would be identified. So to answer your question, yes.
All right, and that doesn't happen now.
So, Mr. Chairman and Delegate Anderson, it does not happen because under current law, and obviously VDOT could speak to this, these types of devices cannot be deployed in VDOT right away. So you have a situation where law enforcement obviously wants to be able to use these devices to identify situations like we just discussed, but the devices can't be deployed in the right of way. So this bill provides the regulations and the permitting authority to deploy those devices to work with law enforcement.
Thank you, Delegate Anderson. Thank you, Mr. Skiles.
Thank you, sir.
Colonel Captain Major Maxey with the State Police.
Mr. Speaker.
No, please. Please.
Mr. Chairman, Ron Maxey, Virginia State Police. To answer Delegate LaRock and possibly Delegate Anderson's questions, the devices are currently in use based on some opinions from the AG's office, legal opinions. We ran into some issue that the permitting was not allowed without this entry into the Code of Virginia. That was done. We appreciate this, the work being done by the prior speaker. The data right now, as far as the data retention, this does place some guardrails on that. Data by some agencies is held indefinitely, up to 30 days. State Police, we hold it for 24 hours and purge it, so there is no consistency now to how that data is being saved. This does provide a guideline for all agencies as far as how long they can keep it and have to purge it. Any other questions I can help out, but we do appreciate it.
Are there any other questions of Mr. Maxey? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A question of Colonel Maxey. So you said that it's been used in other places. Did I not remember that it was talked about that counties, or I'm sorry, cities that have the ability to deploy these now in right-of-ways? Is that correct? Or
Correct. This would provide some guidelines for stationary. This does not pertain to the ones that are currently in use on mobile vehicles, mobile police cars, third-party private vendors. This has no impact on that. Those would continue to be used even if this bill did not pass. This just deals with allowing the stationary devices to be placed, in our case, on the right-of-way that VDOT has. And VDOT can answer any questions related to that.
Okay, Delegate Wyatt?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I just want to add on, some folks will looking at Delegate LaRock when he was sharing the stories. Also, there was a lot of testimony in subcommittee, and it was also made reference to that when the young reporter life was tragically taken while she was reporting in the Roanoke area, it is already deployed on state trooper vehicles, and that individual was apprehended right at Interstate 81 and 66 as he was trying to flee. So it was used to help quickly remove that murderer off of the Virginia highway. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Maxie. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you always.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the committee. Natalie Spillman with Chesterfield County. We support this bill. Thank the delegate for carrying this legislation. As a locality with the second largest road network in the state, recognize the value to implement this modern technology for keeping our community safe and secure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are there any questions? Thank you kindly for being here today.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Anyone else in the audience, either in favor or against? Okay, there appears to be none. So this committee
Mr. Chairman, if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Delegate Wiley.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I just kind of want to have a last word here. And thank you for the questions. I mean, certainly we poked a lot of holes in this, at least tried to, concerning, big government infringing on people's rights and in terms of their liberties and the data being captured and how long they can hold it, et cetera. To the point of Delegate Rock's point, we expanded this from 24 hours to 30 days. If it makes everyone feel more comfortable, we can shrink that time down to 15 if there's a friendly amendment to get people more comfortable. But in terms of the direction and the focus of this bill, it's to make it more enforced to get these bad guys off the road and get them apprehended. So I'll be quiet and just offer that. Thank you.
Okay, Delegate Anderson.
Mr. Chair, may I ask Private Major Colonel Chief of Police to come back up here for a second?
Major Maxey, please.
Mr. Chairman. Yes, sir.
How much time do you need to store the data? What's the state police's recommendation?
State police, again, consistency.
You said 24 hours, right?
Correct, Mr. Chairman. Currently, 24 hours. I will say that it has proved a challenge when we purge that data at 24 hours. Sometimes we don't realize an abduction has taken place. We had a situation with a young child, a female out of North Carolina, about a month ago. North Carolina Highway Patrol called us, asked us to run a tag of a known vehicle. We had already purged our data at that point. There's no doubt we'd have been able to pick that tag up, but because we had purged our data, we weren't able to assist them in that recovery.
So are the state police requesting 30 days?
We're not requesting any amount of time. We would appreciate anything beyond that because we have found 24 hours is just too fast for us. Again, so for us, we're not adding anything to that, but anything in addition to 24 hours is going to be helpful.
Is a week enough? Is 2 weeks? What's the best practice here?
Well, for the state police, we have no position, Mr. Chairman, on this. 30 days seems fairly consistent with other agencies. Okay. I would say that would not be beyond. It's hard to give an exact answer because it could be 2 weeks. Sometimes you're hearing crimes where parents don't notify police for 2 to 3 weeks out that a child is missing in certain situations. So in that situation, we would need 30 days to go back and check it. It would all be dependent on the situation. But again, we're not recommending an actual date, but I can say it would be nice to have more than 24 hours that we have. We're not bound to that 24 hours. That's just what we adhere to personally.
Delegate Anderson and Delegate Wiley, let me say that there's a lot of work has gone into drafting this bill and a lot of research. And, I think it's important that we give law enforcement the tools that they need to be able to review activities. And as the Major said, sometimes these things aren't reported in a timely manner, and it's disappointing when we purged our system and we can't go back and assist and aid in the research and investigation of something. So I think the bill as drafted with 30 days is adequate and meets the request of law enforcement for the ability to support. So I prefer that as the bill stay as drafted at a 30-day window. So, yep.
Right. To report the substitute. Second.
We have a motion to report with a substitute. All in favor, go to the vote. Everyone vote on electronic voting board, please. Okay, the bill reports 20-2. Thank you. All right, Delegate Wyatt, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next bill, HB 1649, patroned by myself. This does have a substitute.
Move substitute. Have a motion, move substitute, second. Motion and a second. Everyone in favor of the substitute signify by saying aye. Aye. Bill's properly before us.
This pertains to trespass towing. What fees may be charged by tow truck operators across the Commonwealth. Right now, as everyone knows, all fees are regulated by state statute. This bill would allow a fuel surcharge of no more than $30 for each tow that takes place with a private property or trespass tow only. This bill does expire, have a sunset of July 1 of 2024. It did pass subcommittee on 6-0, Mr. Chairman, and I so move.
Okay, I think, Delegate Wyatt, we have some people here who would like to speak to the bill. So anyone who speaks in favor of the bill, please come forward. Summarize as quickly as possible, please. In the
Yes,
essence
sir.
of
Matt
time.
Beckett with the
Thank
Northern
you.
Virginia and Richmond Area Towers Association. We really appreciate Delegate Wyatt sponsoring the bill. We are the only industry in Virginia where we are regulated by price in code. Therefore, every 3 years, we have to come back to the General Assembly and beg you guys to increase the fees, which I know either side probably enjoys. This year is an interesting year. The Senate has told us, the other body has told us that we should probably wait a year. That would make it 4 years to get an actual rate increase. We've worked with the chairman, and I think that what we've come up here is something that both sides can work with, just to give us a little bit of money in the off year so that we can study the issue and come back next year and work on the bigger picture. So we appreciate it. Again, it expires next year.
Thank you. Sir?
Morning, Mr. Chairman. John O'Neill with Advanced Towing, Northern Virginia. This started out as coming down here, as Matt said, to get a pay raise, and that wasn't going to work out. So before you have a fuel surcharge, which is probably our biggest line item as far as our costs go, I'm looking for support. We don't have the ability to regulate, to change our fees, and Arlington County hasn't raised my fee in 13 years. And I believe that the bill that you had before you, the original bill, would have died, and the entire state of Virginia and all the towers would have not received any type of relief. So what you see before you, I'd ask you to support today.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Next.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of this committee. My name is Michael Croak. I'm the owner of Shanks Towing South, based in Richmond, Virginia. My largest expense is obviously payroll. My second largest expense is fuel. And it has doubled, more than doubled, in the last 3 years, and I would appreciate your support in this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning.
Morning, sir.
My name is Wallace. I'm with On Tap Towing. Just want to state that diesel fuel is almost like $5, and we only towing people that's parking on other people's property.
Thank you, sir.
I'm Zachary White with Shanks Towing South and Richmond Towing Association. As of right now, it's about $4 to go 7 miles unloaded. I support this bill.
Thank you.
My name is Casey Boatwright. I'm with Shanks Towing South and the Richmond Towing Association. This bill would really help combat inflation. I support this bill.
Thank you.
I'm Joey Newberger with On Time Towing, and we support this bill just to help offset all the inflations that's come at us from every direction. And hopefully it'll get us tilled next year.
Understood. Thank you, sir. Anyone else speak in favor? Anyone speak against the bill?
This is, I'm sorry, I'm on the Zoom. This is,
Yes, ma'am. If you'll give me 1 second, please. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Alana Kernan with Arlington County. We oppose this bill for a lack of data transparency and consumer protections that are in this bill. We understand that there is going to be a study, and we feel we're putting the cart before the horse if we don't look at consumer protections, data transparency, and a fuel increase altogether. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, James Hutzer, Virginia Association of Counties. We also oppose the bill.
Thank you. Okay, so I think now we have Mrs. Miller with us online. Mrs. Miller?
Yes, I'm Ashley Miller with Dominion Towing and the Northern Virginia Towing Coalition. We definitely support this bill. The fuel costs have gone up for the trucks, but there are other fuel costs as well, like heating fuel, that have also increased. And the data is with everybody. Everybody's cost of fuel has increased. So we just support this bill and appreciate the consideration.
Thank you, Mrs. Miller, for joining us virtually. Okay, anyone else? Okay, so we'll now, any comment among the committee in regard to the bill before us?
Mr. Chair, may I have?
Yes, sir, Delegate Anderson.
I have a question for anybody who could answer this, but isn't there also some fees that the towing companies get for storage? I mean, when they tow the car, there's a daily storage fee. And I mean, I just want to make sure that that's factored in, that I think there's a daily storage fee, and that's factored into compensation overall to the towing companies on these tows. Can anybody confirm that?
Okay. Mr. Baker, you want to answer this?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you for the question. So that is true. We can collect storage fees, but this is the important part, is in the first 24 hours, we don't collect. We're not allowed to collect storage fees. So 99.99% of vehicles in trespass towing are picked up within that 24 hours. So storage fees are very rare on trespass towing, but public safety towing, which is a different business completely and regulated differently, that's where you see storage issues.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Delegate Anderson?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Baker. Mr. Subramanian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Again, I don't know who to direct this question to, but there was mention of consumer protections, and I'm curious if anyone could explain what those consumer protections were, anyone who spoke just now.
Mr. Baker.
I'm really glad you asked that question. So before session started, we put in a bill to raise the fee, which is every 3 years. Arlington County, Alfonso Lopez, put in a bill, he's done every year, the last 6 years, to add consumer protections to towing. We said to him, we've killed it every year for 6 years. We said to him that we would put that in our bill if we could find an agreement on what the towing fee increase would be. We agreed to it. And Delegate Herring, I'm glad you said that, because wow, we were willing to do something very big to help him. And it was. No, it's very true. We've got the substitute for it, but I'm sorry. We agreed to put that in the bill, and that didn't happen, so.
Mr. Chair, follow up?
Yes.
Just to repeat the question, what were the consumer protections?
It was adding trespass towing to the Consumer Protection Act.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Delegate Subramanian. Delegate Bagby.
Yes, follow up to Delegate Anderson's question. What are the fees associated with the storage? And is that regulated by us?
It's state or locality.
And how much is that?
What would you say it is on
daily?
State law?
Does it vary? Does it vary, or is it regulated? Is it regulated?
Yeah, please. And again, it's very rare that storage is.
Good morning, Chair.
Yes,
members
sir.
of the committee. The way it's written now is the state has its own set of rates, which is there's an initial tow. I don't remember the numbers. There is a storage fee of $50 a day, and there's two modifiers for either nighttime or federal holiday where you can get an additional fee. In that code section, localities are allowed to go below those rates. The City of Richmond is one of those localities, and the rates are different because of that.
So it is regulated. How often would it be modified or adjusted, or do you have to petition us to adjust that storage fee also?
We have to petition for any money collected.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Delegate Bagby, does that answer your question, sir?
I think the gentleman wanted to say something, then I was going to ask another question.
Sure. Okay.
So in state code, it is $50 after 24 hours. A towing company can charge so long as the locality has approved it. In Arlington County, I can charge $50. The county tower in Arlington County can charge $65 after hours, and the county approved those rates. Completely different set of rates for police towing as it is compared to private property, but the storage rate, we can't charge till after 24 hours. The police tows can be charged immediately.
Doug Bagby?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll speak to the bill at the appropriate
Mr.
time.
Chairman, if you all,
No. I think we've all made up our mind for the day, sir.
go ahead, sir. Are you good? You good? Okay.
Speak to the
Delegate
bill at the
Herring?
appropriate time.
Just speaking to the bill at the appropriate time, Mr. Chair.
Yes, now would be the appropriate
All
time,
right.
Delegate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And to the gentleman that, and I shouldn't direct I said, wow, Mr. Chair, because I think going forward, I'm going to look to the future, if this does not pass. In approaching this study, to say that you're going to talk about consumer protection only if you're going to talk about increase of fees, and I know y'all are saying she's correct, puts you in a bad position and makes the industry look like a bunch of predators. And I'm saying this, you can shake your head all you want, but we both have to have an open mind to the situation that these gentlemen are in. But you as their representative need to have an open mind about the fact when an individual is told for trespass or there's an accident, that is their way to get to work, to get their child to school, to get to the hospital. So when the study is done, when whatever happens here, understand that you're representing them, and I think you did them a disservice. And I can speak my mind, because you're saying the increase in fees is paramount. It's as important as consumer protection. So that's all I have to say, Mr. Chair. I just hope that we can have some respect for each other, and especially when we're talking about consumer protection, that's very important. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Delegate Herring. Anyone else on the committee have any comments or questions?
Mr.
Delegate?
Chair.
Thank you, Delegate Bagby.
Mr. Chair, I've supported the toll increase since I've been on transportation since I've been here, and I supported the toll increase since I've been here. But over the years, I've had constituents call me with concerns about their vehicles being impounded and not being able to get that vehicle out, and then because of financial restraints, and that balloons pretty quickly. Just quick math, with $50 a day, vehicle being there for 30 days, that's $1,500, I believe, if my math is correct. That's a lot of money for a vehicle, and so folks are, and they're welcome to argue. Folks are losing their vehicles based upon these tolls. And again, some of them all of them are parked illegally. But one single mistake should not put you in a position to lose your vehicle and your way of getting wages, getting back and forth to work. And so it's my hope that both parties, all in the stakeholders, will come to the table and really figure this out. I don't know what I'll do on the floor. I'm sure this legislation will pass, but at this point, I'm not able to support this increase.
Thank you, Delegate McQuinn.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chair, I've heard the arguments and, on both sides, and the reality is, as it relates to tours, it's sort of like these are not the most favored individuals, in our communities. No way, no how. And especially if you find yourself in a situation where you are being towed. I would never forget a bad situation I had 100 years ago. But anyway, however, it has imprinted upon me and stayed on my mind. However, when I am looking at, first of all, I see all these multiple agencies that have a part in this, the state, local government, and so when it's all said and done, I'm not sure, of those fees that are charged, how much goes to the tour versus how much goes to any other agency that's a part of this. But what I do know, and I'm going to support the bill, because what I do understand is when I go to the grocery store, eggs cost me, that used to be like 99, $1.50 a dozen, and now $5, $6, $7. Somebody told me it was $8, but I was like, I'm not eating eggs anymore. So, you know, when I go, the butter costs. When I go to the gas station, when you go to various places now to, as a consumer, to get certain things, that it is, the cost is just, you know, inflation and what has happened. All of us are dealing with situation that we need to, that we hope that would give us some relief. And so for that reason, I'm going to look at you guys and I'm saying, okay, listen, it's probably important to support them because there is a family somewhere, there is extra cost for them, and so we need to, you know, I need to say, okay, let's take all of those things into consideration. And then, you know, with the study being done, we have an opportunity now that we know so much of the state and other entities that are a part of this, the decision-making in terms of the cost and the fees. Let's get in there and work with them. I mean, we have an opportunity. And whether we come back and say, you know what, we're doing this now, and this is temporary until we decide what the study is going to reflect, then let's do that. But I think that it's important, you know, for me to understand their plight and then support them based on that.
Thank you, Delegate McQuinn.
Thank you, Mr.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr.
Thank
Chair.
you. I think Delegate Wyatt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I hear everything that someone has said, and I guess we've all interacted with a tow. And I equate it to maybe interaction with law enforcement. It's never a pleasant day when your vehicle gets towed. And I can share my wife's story again, Mr. Chairman, and I won't do it today.
I suspected we were going to hear that, but you know.
But agreeing to put the Consumer Protection Act in as y'all continue to negotiate down the road with the other body that I know that wants to be very instrumental in helping get this, it will be a key part. Consumers have to have protection to appeal or some process when they interact with any business in any industry. But yes, unfortunately, the rates are regulated, so every few years, and I want to thank Delegate McQuinn for comments about everything, their equipment, everything that we touch now in the private sector, they have already increased indexed to inflation, and this is, in my opinion, the right thing to do. That's why I agreed to carry the bill, because I've been involved in the private sector, volunteering on commissions around the counties and states, and towing was one of my very first ones, and they're very engaged folks, but yet the public is too, because you do provide a service when someone's having a bad day. So you all need to really police your own, and those one or two bad apples and that may be out there, you need to get them back in the right direction. And I see as it moves forward, adding the consumer protection piece will definitely appease and work with a lot of the folks. So thank you for considering that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to comment in regard to this situation. Also, I agree with Delegate McQuinn's, and Delegate McQuinn, I agree a lot. Sometimes we don't on situations, and it's not always pleasant, but we will. But I agree with Delegate McQuinn. These gentlemen are individual. They're private. They're small businesses, and they have families. And we're regulating their income and their ability. And they're right. Diesel fuel is $5 a gallon. But Delegate Herring makes a really valid point here. This should be a relationship. And it has to be built on a foundation of a relationship, of consideration. Now, these gentlemen are being held hostage by us, the legislature, because we regulate their income. And I appreciate what they do, as unpopular as it is. Unfortunately, it's necessary. And Delegate Bagby makes a good point also. $50 a day, a lot of people don't have it, and it adds up quickly. And when they don't have $100 to go get it, all of a sudden tomorrow it's $150. And that's difficult in today's era and time. But I also don't think these people should be held accountable for other people's negligence. And that's sort of what we're doing here. I don't know how we balance this scale. I've got a towing bill coming up in a few minutes that is of similar fashion. And none of them are popular. But I think Delegate Herring makes a really interesting point, and I hope you take that very seriously, because I think it's hugely important. I hope you gentlemen emphasize to your representative how important it is that you have that relationship. So at the proper time, we'll entertain a motion, and we'll act on it.
Move to report the substitute.
Move to have a motion to report with substitute. Everyone go to electronic voting board, please. Okay, Delegate Tater. What are you, Delegate Tater, yay or nay? Delegate Tater is a yay. The bill reports 16-5. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming. We know that you have other things to do, but we appreciate you being here. So thank you kindly. Okay, the next bill, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bill 1858, patroned by Delegate Webert. This does have amendments.
Move the amendment.
So motion to amendment, second. All in favor of the amendment, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, bill's properly before us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This does allow the Greenway in Loudoun County that is currently under the Virginia Highway Corporation Act to allow discussion or authorizes a commissioner to in the public interest, gather information to possibly move this towards the Public-Private Partnership Act of 1995. This did report out of Subcommittee 9-0, and I so move.
Okay, well, we have some people who would like to speak to the motion. Delegate Watts. Oh, was that on the previous bill? I apologize, Delegate Watts. Delegate Tater, were you on this bill? Apparently.
She just went
Okay, Delegate LaRock.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Who would I address a question to about this bill, since the patron's not with us?
VDOT could probably answer any questions pertaining to the content of the bill.
I have a few
And Delegate Weber explained to me that he couldn't be here this morning, so I think we'll do our best, Delegate LaRock, to answer your concerns.
Good morning, Mr.
Lawson.
Chairman, members of the committee.
Thank
John
you, sir.
Lawson, Deputy Secretary.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So when we met in my office to discuss this, one of the questions that I asked was, do you need this bill to explore alternatives to what is in place now? And if I may ask, could you give me a yes or no answer to that? Is this bill absolutely necessary for you to explore terms that might be more favorable to the public interest?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Delegate
Dr.
Locke.
Lawson.
The bill is necessary to be able to execute a transaction.
Okay, I'll go back to my question, if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. But Delegate LaRock, let's move along very quickly. We're on the time.
Well, this is a big deal, Mr. Chairman, and I would
understand it
like
is.
to have the opportunity to
But
ask a
I
few
think
questions.
you've had the opportunity to discuss in your office on several occasions the content of this bill, so let's move forward as quickly as possible. Thank you, sir.
Are we in a time crunch, Mr. Chairman?
We are.
Really?
Yes.
We're running out of time. I've heard that before. Okay, back to the same question. Do you need this bill to pass to explore alternative terms to what are in place now? Yes or no, please?
A simple yes or no is, we could expend resources today to explore, but it could be a futile exercise if you're not able to execute a transaction. It's hard to explore a transaction when you don't know that you can actually execute it.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. May I
Yes, sir.
continue? Okay, you answered the question a little more directly in my office, and your answer was no. So I'll repeat that rather than draw out the exchange. A question on the bill specifically. The fine print has really been difficult in the past, and how this whole Greenway has been treated. So I recognize that in the bill, I haven't gone through the substitute pain in the neck when they pop up at the last minute, but the Secretary has made repeated reference to the public interest and how that is a legal term. And so I just looked at that a little bit last night. I see a whole page in the Public-Private Partnership Act, which would presumably, if this passes, substitute the oversight of the State Corporation Commission. But I notice in the sections at the bottom, and I'm going to ask anybody on this committee if they've read this bill and understand or looked at these sections, but I suspect you have. So the establishment of what the meaning of in the public interest is written in the Highway Corporation Act. And among the 7 or so sections that are deleted is the section that deletes with the definition of what is in the public interest. So why is it that in the bill it represents that the transaction will take place in the public interest? The Secretary has said that there's a legal definition, but yet the bill deletes the legal definition in the Public-Private Partnership Act.
Mr. Chairman, Delegate LaRock, the bill actually, as you noted, it does exclude some sections of the Public-Private Partnership Act that are related to what would be an actual procurement. And this wasn't a procurement. This is a way to migrate this from one operating authority to another. And in the bill itself, it identifies that, in looking at the public interest, we should be looking at reduction in tolls, distance-based tolling, or other transportation benefits. And it goes on to talk about the key terms that should be found and identified in determining whether it's in the public interest. And the terms being applicable commercial and financial terms, reductions in toll rate for the full length, implementation of distance-based tolling, benefits to the commuter, and other enhancements to the regional network as well as to the road itself. And all of these terms have to be presented, one, found positive by the Commissioner, concurred by the Secretary, presented to the Transportation Public-Private Partnership Steering Committee, which includes members or representation from the legislative branch, and they have to concur before a transaction can be executed.
One final question.
So my final question, I'll first say that 33.21803.1 shall not apply as written into the bill. It implies that it would be in there. So to me, it's a bit of a smoke screen. There's an implication that it's there. My last question is, are you aware that the legislature acted on a bill in 2021 which was really one of the first times in a long time the legislature had not granted the Greenway what it asked for, and that tolls have remained stable since that point in time, which many would consider to have accomplished what this bill purports to be directed at accomplishing. So are you aware that the legislature made that decision 99-0 in the House, and that this proposes to reopen that whole proposition that something needs to be fixed?
Mr. Chairman, Delegate Rocky, yes, I'm aware of the activity from 2021.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, Delegate Reed.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple questions, Secretary Lawson. First of all, I know that you are for lack of a better term, a carryover from the Northam administration. So this was something that was actually initiated by Secretary Valentine, Deputy Secretary Nick Donahue, and you at initial studies, I think, a year or more, or 2 years ago now. Would that be correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And then because this is currently under State Corporation Commission, and I know that former Secretary of Transportation Watts is sitting here next to me and was actually the Secretary of Transportation at the time. So toll increases right now are in the sole purview of the State Corporation Commission. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
So we don't have any control. Loudon doesn't have any control. It's sole purview of the State Corporation Commission.
That is correct.
And for the last 28 years, has there ever been a time when there was a toll reduction?
Mr. Chairman, Delegate Reed, no, I'm not aware of any toll reduction in its history.
And just one final question, Mr. Chairman, and then
Chairman, if you would, please keep it brief, if you would, Delegate. We're on time.
So again, going back to this legislation defines the public interest as reducing tolls, implementing distance-based pricing for the benefit of the regional transportation network in Northern Virginia. Would that be correct?
That is correct.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Delegate Reed. Delegate Subramanian.
I was speaking to the bill inappropriate, but I see we have people online.
Yeah, let me get to those, please, first, if you would. Online, we have Jason Stanford. Jason, are you there and prepared to speak?
Yes, sir.
If you would, sir, please keep it as short as you can. Thank you.
Absolutely. President of the Northern Virginia Transportation Alliance, and we support the bill.
Thank you, sir. Very brief. I appreciate that. Stephen Frazier, are you online?
I am, sir.
Okay, sir. If you would also keep your comments as brief as possible.
Mr. Chairman, I will do my very best. Thank you for the
Thank you,
opportunity
sir.
to speak.
Yes, sir.
Sir, we are very much in support of this bill. As a 24-year small business owner here in Loudoun County, I speak in support of this bill, not only as a business owner, but also as a father and a long member of this community. To me, I would hope that in looking at this bill, what it is doing is moving forward discussion. And this has been a water cooler topic, not just here in Loudoun County, but kind of throughout. And it's a topic that at very least I think deserves to be explored in this manner. And I've never seen a situation where discussing and evaluating options that could be in the public's best interest is a bad thing. So, sir, I certainly encourage you all to support this bill, and let's move it forward and move from the water cooler to some decision-making process that's going to benefit everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Frazier. Ali Khan, are you available, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. And I would ask you also, please keep your comments brief.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I'm in support of this bill. Again, I'm a small business owner also who uses the toll road for the business and prefers distance-based tolling. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate you joining us. Now let's go back to the committee. I think Mr. Superman. Is there anyone? I'm sorry. We have someone speak. He's speaking either in favor or against.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Clark Lewis, representing the County of Loudoun. As I expressed in the subcommittee, we have concerns. We agree with the end result. We have concerns with the process, so we respectfully would oppose the bill.
Thank you, sir. Next.
Mr. Chairman, Nick Clementi, Northern Virginia Chamber of Commerce. We strongly support the bill, and as a citizen of Loudoun County and the town of Leesburg, I also strongly support the bill.
Thank you for being here. Next.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Josh Faverka with the Northern Virginia Association of Realtors. I just want to say the realtors support the bill.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you being here. Okay. No one else in the audience? Okay. Thank you. Well, I have Mr. Subramanian, Delegate Subramanian, who's asked to speak. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll be brief. We've talked a lot in this committee about consumer protections. We've talked a lot about guardrails over the past week or two, and I don't think this bill has either sufficiently. This road has a long history, as many have alluded to, and it wasn't until a few years ago that we really put any sort of consumer protections in place. And when we did that 99-0, as it was alluded to, and I think it was a success. The road can still petition for increases, but they have to be transparent. They have to justify those increases, which they didn't really have to do so much of in the past. And so that's why things have changed. But this bill popped up as soon as that bill passed because now they want to get out of that statute. And I'll just say, there are a lot of, this is a wish list in this bill. The term may is used quite a bit, and it's because in the end, there's no guarantees that tolls will decrease. There's no guarantees we'll get distance-based tolling. But I'm a lawyer, and I wouldn't tell my client to sign onto a deal or give services or money not knowing what they're getting in return. And that's sort of what we're doing here. And so for that, I'd oppose this bill. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for your comments, sir. Okay. Now, committee acts by motion.
Move to report as substituted. As
motion to report as amended with a second. Go to the electronic voting board, please. Okay, it appears the bill reports 18-3. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank everyone on the committee for your work. Okay, next bill, Delegate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. They will get easier.
Thank you.
The next bill, HB 2191, patroned by Delegate Rasool. This did report with a substitute. No, I'm sorry. It pertains to the removal by a locality of unattended or immobile vehicles, allows for the removal of certain unattended or immobile vehicles by a locality's Civil Code Enforcement Division. Pass subcommittee 8-0, and I so move.
Second.
We have a motion to report with a second. Go to electronic voting board, please. Okay. Everyone voted. The bill report. I'm sorry, Delegate Ward. Delegate Ward, are you a yay or a nay? Yay. Delegate Ward is a yay. Okay. Delaney, Delegate Delaney, are you? Okay. So the bill reports 20-0. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, next bill,
Thank you,
please.
Mr. Chairman. And our last bill, HB 2392, patroned by the chairman. This did come out of subcommittee with amendments.
Move the amendment.
Have a motion to move amendment. Second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The bill is properly before us.
The amendment makes the award of attorney fees and costs permissive instead of mandatory. It allows towing and recovery operators to recover reasonable attorney fees and costs in a civil action brought to them by the towing and recovery operators to recover any cost or enforce a lien. Did pass subcommittee 8-0 as amended, and I so move.
Okay, before someone seconds that bill, I would like to speak very briefly. I carried this bill because we have a program in place in the Commonwealth that requires people to respond in a timely fashion and expedite their work in a timely fashion. And oftentimes, after they perform their duties and tasks, they don't receive compensation. So this allows them to go to court and petition for attorney's fees to be covered for that petition to recover their fees. I think it's only fair. And so for that reason, I carried this bill, and I would appreciate your support, Mr. Chairman. So a motion and a second. Go to electronic voting board, please. Thank you. Okay, Delegate McQuinn. Oh, she left? Okay. Everyone voted. The bill reports 18-1. And on that bill, let me say I appreciate the work of the Truckers Association and the patron who requested this bill, working together to reach a common ground. And so I think that's what we should do. Thank you, Delegate Harris. All right. We have one more bill to come before us. Delegate Williams-Graves, if you would, please, HB 1772.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And I have an amendment in the nature of a substitute for your bill. So would someone move the amendment?
Move the.
And I have a motion and a second to approve the amendment. Everyone's in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And I would say that I discussed this amendment with the patron. She's agreeable, and I think this is puts the bill in a proper posture for us. Thank you, Delegate.
You're welcome, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. This bill is,
Tell us what the amendment does to your bill, please.
Thank you. The amendment simply adds that the governing body, starts on line 61, states the governing body of any city may by ordinance provide for the lawful seizure, impounding, and disposition of an unlawfully operated all-terrain vehicle or off-road motorcycle operated on a highway or sidewalk within the boundaries of such city. For the purposes of this section, all-terrain vehicle and off-road motorcycle shall have the meanings as described in Code 46.2-100.
Okay. Thank you, Delegate Williams-Graves. And let me state the reason I asked for that amendment was this bill was a little bit, I thought, broad in nature. It allowed permissive by counties throughout the Commonwealth anywhere. We realize that this is an issue in the city of Richmond and the city of Roanoke and other cities. So this will allow a time by which we can see. This is also an enforcement issue. This is not permissible by the statute of the code now to run and activate these vehicles or these ATVs on state or city streets. They're doing it illegally. But this gives the ability to seize and dispose of. So we're going to see how it works. I know there's some interest from Delegate Watts and others to incorporate this in other planning districts. We're going to see how it works. We'll see if it's effective in the cities. If it is, we'll then entertain an option to broaden it out a little bit. So, Delegate Graves, I appreciate you bringing this amendment before us today.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Any questions of the delegate? Delegate Runyon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The delegate, to make sure I understand, this only applies to cities in Planning District 8?
No, sir. Any cities in the Commonwealth.
In the Commonwealth, but
Yes, sir.
only cities, so
Only
not
cities.
towns or counties?
No, sir. Only cities.
Okay,
We'd have to
thank
come
you.
back and amend if towns and counties wanted to be added.
Yes. And only on streets and sidewalks.
Yeah.
So,
thank you.
All right. Any other questions of the delegate? Delegate Watts?
Mr. Chairman, if I could comment on
Please,
the bill at
yes,
the proper
ma'am.
time.
Now's the proper time, Delegate.
Thank you. My comment on the bill is actually a general comment. We are not allowed to do special legislation. So there have been times with transportation where the definition of need for the legislation has been bracketed in population and population density as well as traffic density. And I believe that this, and this is why I'm trying to say it generically, this bill is one where the definition of city does not address the issue of the off-road vehicles, particularly because of the oddity of why there are all the cities of Hampton Roads that include Suffolk and Chesapeake and even Virginia Beach, which have a lot of open territory where you might use an off-road vehicle. For consistency, the city of Alexandria sits amongst all the counties of Planning District 22 of Northern Virginia. So there'll be a great inconsistency there because it's only cities, as opposed to the planning district, perhaps, of Northern Virginia, which includes a number of counties that are far more dense than the cities of Hampton Roads. So the oddity of our form of government being applied to transportation issues, I think, is really underscored by the problem that I have with this legislation. I say this both because I believe we're only halfway through the session and there's still time to work on this.
Correct.
As well as with the sincere hope that if we can't work out something in this session, that it really will be something before us next year that addresses more specifically where the need is. Thank you, Mr.
Correct.
Chairman.
Thank you, Delegate Watts. And once again, let me say, Delegate Watts, this is not permissible now by state statute. It's illegal to activate or ride these devices, these ATVs, on city or state streets. It's an enforcement issue. I think by giving the privilege to confiscate and dispose, we strengthen that enforcement. And it's from that angle is really the only reason that I'm in favor of this legislation, because I think currently, if Richmond City Police or Roanoke City or Norfolk wanted to enforce the statute of the law, they could do so, but they're choosing not to do so. And so I don't know that this is going to be very beneficial, because unless they take it responsibly and act on it, it's going to do nothing more than what's permissible by statute today. So I'm in favor of the legislation as drafted. I requested the amendments, and the delegate was kind enough to go along with them. We'll see how it works.
Mr.
Okay?
Chairman.
But I understand fully what you're saying, Delegate Watts. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I will be voting to keep it alive with the
Thank you.
hope that we still have a chance to work on this. Thank you, Mr.
I'm sure the delegate appreciates your vote. Okay, we're ready for a motion.
Motion to report with amendment.
Okay, we have a motion report. Let's go to electronic voting board. I'm sorry. With substitute. I apologize. We have someone in the room virtually to speak. Would you introduce yourself and speak, please, sir?
He's my Commonwealth's attorney, Mr. Chair, and he is not going to get in the way of this train on the way to the passage of this bill. Right, Ramin?
Good call, delegate. Good call.
If you, sir, if you agree with this legislation, if you would nod in the affirmative, we will then move forward. Thank you kindly. Thank you kindly for being here, sir. We appreciate it, and the delegate really appreciates it. So thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second. I think we're ready to go to the electronic voting board. Okay. Everyone voted. It appears the bill advances with a vote of Delegate Anderson. Do you not want to vote? You did. It didn't record. Oh, thank you, Delegate Anderson. The bill reports 18-2. Thank you, Delegate. Thank you for being agreeable to work with me on the legislation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other thing to come before the? I apologize. I have one other thing. We've heard two bills this year: Delegate Watts's 1559 and Delegate Bulliver's 2102. We laid both of those bills gently on the table. This committee understands 100% that that is something that needs to be addressed. So in acknowledging that and the fact that we laid these bills on the table, I'm going to draft a letter to the state police and ask the state police to work with Delegate Bulliver, Delegate Watts, Delegate Anderson, and Delegate Bloxham collectively to try to find a path forward. This is a serious problem within the Commonwealth. The fact that these exhausts are extremely noisy, and we've tried multiple angles. Delegate Watts and others and Delegate Carr have all worked hard to try to fix this problem, but let's work with the state police and see if we can find a path forward to enforce this. I think maybe the auto dealers are going to want to be part of that study also to see how we can approach it. So I would encourage, is the committee in agreement with me drafting a letter requesting that we study this? So if so, let's all acknowledge by a yay. Everyone in agreement? Aye. Everyone opposed? Nay. So I will draft that letter and we'll see if we can find a path forward. So thank you all. Any other business come before the committee? Not, the committee will rise.